Good evening, friends, followers, and channel members. So we're 2 for 2. Second stream of the day after a long haul Monday. I'm making up after lost time for not being able to be around for the last couple of weeks during the evenings. Glad to say it, we're putting that right now. And I thought, why not do a tutorial flight? And so many people want to fly into Innsbruck, myself included. And I'm certainly not going to say I'm perfect in any shape, size or form with this. In fact, I've already messaged HD with questions I'm going to need a couple of answers to before we get there. But even so, I'm giving you a chance. The idea is that you do this flight alongside me at home in your own simulator. We'll take things nice and slowly. The flight's time is only about an hour, so if you've not got the simulator up and running yet, you've still got time. Get that simulator running, grab yourself a beer, and we'll hop in. We'll hop into the simulator and fly from Rome to Innsbruck. Now, the other thing I need to mention as well is I always like to do this on real live weather, which is neat, but the weather's not, although the visibility is fine, the weather's looking a little bit snowy at Innsbruck, so that could be interesting. So I think I'll get the latest METAR and show you that in a minute. HD has just said he's going to be working hard tonight. So I'm going to concentrate on the basics. HD's going to concentrate on the nitty-gritty questions. But yeah, it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. And we're not going to get too involved because, as I say, we're going to use everything that's available to you as a pilot at home. So we'll have Navigraph charts. We'll use the online calculator as well. So yeah, get yourself set up in the simulator and let's get ourselves in at Rome. So I'm also going to change the time of day just so we're flying this in the daytime as well. We don't want to be doing this at night. So let's zoom in, let's find Rome, Leonardo da Vinci Airport. And get yourself in one of these gates here, the 60, anywhere through 606, 601. I'm not online, I'm not on any server or anything like that, so you're not literally flying alongside me. That would be far too complicated. But just pick one of those gates so that you're going to be doing everything that I'm doing as well. So let's we'll just pick this corner one, gate 607. We'll select that for departure. You don't need to do anything else. Don't worry about a flight plan or anything like that. I'm going to talk you through how you can use the one that I've already got set up for you. So flight conditions, well, we'll select real live weather for now and we'll see what happens. So let's select fly and we'll just give the simulator a minute or two to load. So HD asks, will I be above the maximum landing weight? Well, there's a question. If so, we'll just have to throw some passengers and luggage off. We'll leave the alcohol on board though, shall we? So if you didn't catch the stream earlier today, Mileage Monday, long haul flight, was about 5 hours. There was a few of us that flew it and we had all sorts going off. We had crash to desktops. Yeah, we expect to lose one or two. We had, what did we have? We had Nick. Nick was just doing circles somewhere until he figured that out. But then the one thing which I have never seen before, and I'm going to be interested to see if this happens again, is my simulator was running double time. So we were running at twice the speed in terms of time and seconds, but the aircraft wasn't. The aircraft was still flying on normal time, so we were in some sort of time space differential folding thing. I have no idea. Something wasn't working right. So let's see. So HD is going to have a look and see what the regulated landing weight would be with the current weather. Well, whilst this is loading, let's just have a look at the current weather, shall we? So, I'm just using this here. The current weather at Innsbruck is... Oh, actually, that's cleared up a little bit. So, winds 250 at 7. Ooh, that visibility, though. 3,200 meters. Which means... if we bring the graphs over, 3,200 meters. Right, so we're still within range. Runway visibility is 1,200 meters, so that's okay. And then the minimum descent altitude, which we'll discuss probably more, a little bit more in the Qs, but minimum descent altitude is going to be 2,250 feet, and we just need to be aware of we've got a few clouds at 600 feet, broken clouds at 900 feet, so there's still a chance we won't see the runway. In which case, for tutorial's sake, we can just hit the clear button for that. I hope we don't have to. It'd be nice to keep it realistic, wouldn't it? But even this weather here doesn't look that great. As I say, I'm going to change the time of day. But this sounds rather wet and windy. So just before I go any further, let's reset that. Where are we? We're at Rome. So what's the METAR showing here? Oh, we've got showers of rain, broken 500 feet. And visibility is 3,000 meters. So, oh, it's pretty rubbish weather all round then, isn't it? Never mind. Never mind. Resident Music, just joining now. Are you too late? Absolutely not. Definitely not too late. So, let me just hit the ready to fly button, and then, as I say, I am going to change the time of day. Let's just drop it back 12 hours. So let's go to 20 on UTC time, 19. Let's call it 1707, and 507. There we go. Sorry, that's completely wrong, isn't it? I wanted UTC time minus 12 hours, so that would be 19707. There we go. Wow, lovely weather. Maximum landing weight will be in the region of 70.3 tons. I think we're going to be under that then, HD, that's fine. So a quick look around here. Wow, yowzers, that's not nice. That's awful. That's terrible. There's another Easyjet next to me there. Not quite sure why that is. I didn't believe I was on any server. I'm most certainly not on VATSIM, so unless there's some static aircraft. In fact, there might be some ground traffic shown. That's fine. That adds a little bit to the realisms, doesn't it? So here we are at Rome. If you're all using live weather, I'm presuming you've got a similar setup to myself at the moment. Weather is basically rubbish. And I've set the time just to 12 hours ago from UTC. So instead of it being 1909, it is now 7:09. So if you wanted to use the same time as me, there you go. Right. So let's get on board. Danny, Jesus, the weather is rough indeed. Absolutely right. Danny, 1 ton is 1,000 kilograms. I think I'm better inside the aircraft. It's not raining as much. All right, let's get the fly pad on, shall we? And this will give us our accessibility to, oh, there we go, that's what I wanted to see. That's the weather. So there's a good chance that well, it's sort of blowing, obviously, as it normally does over Europe. It's blowing eastward. It might improve by the time we get there, but it's not that that long a flight, is it? Captain B, you've seen lots of air crash investigations that start like this. Well, let's hope we don't join them, shall we? So I'm just going to pop the company name in here, EasyJet Sim Pilot. There we go. And this is what I want you guys to do. If you want to fly the same route as me now, pop Easyjetsimpilot into your flypad and then collect that from SimBrief, and then your flypad should then populate, as you can see just here. And then once we've got the McDo set up, set your SimBrief username to Easyjetsimpilot as well, and you'll be able to use the same flight route then as myself. So HD at 67 tons will be fine with medium auto brakes and full reverse. Fair enough. Okay, let's get the batteries on then. Start adding some power to the aircraft. So with the batteries on, can we also now select some external power? I can see the rotating amber beacon lights from there. There he is. Which approach is better, ILS or RNAV? Well, the ILS is definitely more precise, but RNAV or RMP is catching it up as things start to improve with technology. So it's not actually an ILS here, Andy. It's going to be just a localizer only approach. Although it does have a glide slope, so it's a bit strange. It's obviously an offset localizer as well, for those of you familiar with Innsbruck. So there's the external power. Let's go ahead and carry on setting things up. So external power, all the screens coming on. So we want to turn on the crew supply of oxygen, and we want to turn on the ADIRS. 1, 2, and 3. So I don't want to do everything too fast. I want to take this nice and steady, and we'll be off the ground in about an hour or so, maybe a little bit less. But any questions, of course, please do ask in the chat. Myself, as well as HD, and a few of the channel members as well, will most likely be able to help you out. Does Iberia come as default livery for the A320? No, Martin, strangely enough it doesn't, and I thought with the promos as well that you've most likely seen that it would have done. So let's get the nav and logo lights on. We've not done the refueling yet, so we're going to put the no smoking signs on, but we're going to leave the seatbelt signs off for now. We don't want passengers in their seats if there's a fire during refueling. And we need to set the emergency exit lights to armed. HD, that's a good point. The RMP approach that is at Innsbruck, are you allowed to fly it? I think it is one of the one of the few that you are, aren't you? Can you use ILS in whatever type of weather? Random guy. So yes, there are some limitations, more to do with crosswinds than visibility. But usually ILS will get you down. But yeah, auto lands, there are some limitations on crosswinds, headwinds, tailwinds, etc. So there are times it's not allowed. Also depends on the airport that you're landing at, of course. If the visibility is below the category of ILS that the airport has installed, then you're not allowed to use the auto land to take you all the way down to the runway. But in simple terms, yes, you can. Okay, so let's have a look. How much fuel does the operational flight plan tell us we need? Let's zoom in and have a look. So our operational flight plan is telling us we need around 4.1, 4.2 tons. Now, with the weather that we've already seen, it may be prudent of us to add an extra ton, just because we either want to go around to try again, which going around in itself is not an easy task at Innsbruck. And, of course, the weather not being great, we may need to divert as well. Chris Hogg, good evening, sir. So, if we take 5 tons of fuel, I think that should help. So we're going to take 5 tons of fuel. We're going to go to our fuel page on here, and we're just going to reduce that to 5 tons, or around about 5 tons. That's close enough. And we're going to select real time for the defueling. That's going to take around 6 minutes. So if we now select that, then that looks like that would work. HD, you'd add what you can so you're close to a 65-ton landing weight. Well, on the operational flight plan, what's our actual landing weight at the moment? Right, so yeah, so 61 tons landing weight is planned, so we could, if we wanted, we could probably add another 3 tons, couldn't we, to that? We could add another 3 tons, that'd be fine. So what, 5, 6, 7? We'll take 7 tons. That's well within the limits. So let's load 7 tons of fuel and get that going. Okay, so we're actually defueling now. Andy, air traffic control would not clear you for... I see what you mean. If they cleared you for a visual approach, can you still use the ILS to get your plane like... Yeah, I mean, they're not going to know, are they? I've done it before, I think into Chicago. No, not Chicago. We were coming into Las Vegas and VATSIM told us that we were cleared for the visual. Well, I'd got the ILS keyed in anyway, so that's fine. So we've got 7 tons of fuel. That's been loaded in as we speak. And here comes the jetway. Okay, so the weather here, as we can see from this dashboard, we've got showers of rain, visibility 3,000 meters, broken 500, QNH 1016. I'm going to make a quick note of the QNH 1016. Okay, good evening. Wow, what kind of weather is this? It's crashed to desktop weather. Okay. Dark, are there any limitations that we stop you landing at Lowy? Yeah, well, because of the weather is really the main thing. Gear down and lock. Do you still need to alter the fuel factor in SimBrief? Yes. Go to a fuel factor of -10. That seems to work very well. Mad Sib, that is a great point. So if you're typing into the flypad, then you've got key bindings affecting the aircraft. So press the right Alt key, your mouse turns into a magnifying glass, select it, and it will open up in a nice little handy pop-out window here. Anything you type in this window here then does not affect the simulator. So type it into the window rather than directly onto the flypad. So that's quite nice. So let me just close that. Okay, so fueling is now underway. We're going to go ahead now and complete our cockpit preparation. So we would do the engine fire test. We're still looking at the 3 clicks at the moment. We'd do engine fire test number 1, engine fire test number 2, and then the APU. And make sure they're all working. Of course, here in the simulator they would be. We'll turn a bit of lights on for the overhead panel as well, given how dark it is. So that's the overhead panel set up with the exception, of course, of the fuel pumps and the seatbelt signs, because we're currently refueling. This weather's getting worse. Alright, so let's now come down to the center instrument panel, and we're going to set up the standby just here to that QNH, which is 1016. That's now set up. And we want to check that anti-skid is on, which it is. And I'm just having a quick look at the clock. Look at those, guys. Those seconds are actually counting up in seconds. We're not getting 2 seconds for every second. How strange. For those of you that were with me earlier today. Okay, so we'll come down to the pedestal now. Have a look at the audio control panel, make sure everything's set up there as it is. I'm going to go to VHF2 and would set the guard frequency to 1 to 1.5. That's something that's just in the real world. It doesn't work here in the simulator, but there you are. 1 to 1.5 is there. Random guy, was the flypad coming to the stable version? I'm afraid I don't know. It's coming in the next version though. Definitely coming in the next version. Okay, so once we've set that onto VHF2, we want to make sure we select VHF1 back, and at the moment we're not tuned to anything. Normally you'd tune to ground or ATIS to get the field information, but as we're not online with anything, we don't need to do that. We then need to check that everything is in the correct position, so transponder is turned on and in standby, the flaps lever, gear lever, everything, parking brake. Make sure everything is set up as it should be before we add any engine power to the aircraft or anything like that. So we're now going to come up to the glare shield, and the glare shield then is the autopilot or FCU. So we're going to set the QNH here as well, which is 1016, and we're going to pop on the flight directors 1 and 2. I'm not going to set anything else up on the FCU just yet until I know what sort of departure we're going to be flying. So we're now going to come down to the instrument panel, turn up the brightness for the navigation display for a primary flight display. If you want to save frame rates, just turn the eCam up here. If you want to save on frame rates, there's I do, then I turn down the first officer's displays. HD doesn't need them. So they're now turned down. It'll claw 3 or 4 frames back, maybe a little bit more actually. I've seen good things with that. ILS alignment has now completed as well, which is neat. So if we come down to the McDo, so this is what I want you guys to do if you haven't done so already. If you go to your McDo menu, go to options, then go to AOC, then to SimBrief, and in the username / pilot ID, type in Easyjetsimpilot there, or you can even type in that number. I believe that would work, and that just means you're going to be able to use the exact same flight plan that I'm going to be using today during this stream. So you're going to be flying the same route with me and copying me all the way. HD, you use the force to see what's going on. Well, by now I think you can almost predict me. You know me that well. Christian, that's good to hear. Your VPN, no packages out of date. Well, strangely enough, I haven't had that today for this flight. I had it this morning, but not today. So hopefully that's just giving you guys a little bit of a chance to key in that username or pilot ID so that we're all singing off the same hymn sheet, as it were. Alright, so then aircraft status. We're going to go to IRS monitor, check we have those 3 nav green because the ideas are now aligned. We're going to go back to data. And the aircraft status, check we've got the LEAP engines, we've got a varied AIRAC cycle as shown in there, so that's good. We're now going to come to the init page, so the init A page. In fact, no we're not, I've actually forgot to bring the things in from SimBrief, so go back to your McDo menu, back to ATSU, to the AOC menu, and init press. And now you've typed in my username or user ID, you should be able to press the init data request button, and that'll populate all these fields here. And there we are, 1 hour 2 minutes from Rome to Lowy, to Innsbruck. We're going to go back to the AOC menu, and we're going to look at our performance, weight and balance. So we don't need to touch the fuel page, that's been loaded on the electronic flight bag, but we are going to move over to page 2 of 2. And we're going to now have a look at our payload, 0 fuel weight and things like that. Yeah, HD, we need to amend diffrips. It's now McDiffrips. We need to go to the McDo menu and set up the SimBrief importing, so it's McDiffrips. Alright, so we're now going to check that this matches up everything that we've got on the operational flight plan. So to do that, if we come back over to our dispatch page here on the operational flight plan setting and zoom in, we can see we've got a payload of 18720. We can cross-reference and check that. 18720, that's correct. A 0 fuel weight of 59.7. 59.7 is showing to be correct there as well, and the 0 fuel weight center of gravity for this aircraft is Microsoft set it by default at 26.9. You can change that if you wish, so if we wanted to we could move that up to 30. So there we go, we've just moved that up to 30 there. That now matches what you've got there. You can either alter this one or you can alter the simulator. It is entirely up to you which way you want to do that. But that works either way. As long as those two match, it doesn't matter. Right, so once all that page is then set up, we're going to press the payload load button. So let's do that. So payload load, and there it is. David Mooney, shame the flight plan doesn't keep on the same zoom. Yes, I know. It's a minor thing, isn't it, for what we get. Alright, so that is now the McDo menu set up and information and the weights brought in from SimBrief into the aircraft. Now what we're going to do then is we're going to start our setup of the FMGS. So we're going to go to our init page, and what we'll be able to do now is press the init request button, and this should now populate almost everything. So it's not got the alternate, that's fine, that's expected. There's our flight number, a cost index, and the cruise flight level and the temperature for the cruise flight level. We're going to just clear the scratch pad, keep pressing clear and clear and clear until that's done. Okay, so we need to put the alternate in. Let's go back over here and have a look. So our alternate today is Echo Delta Delta Mike. Where's that? Is that Munich? Echo Delta Delta Mike. So let's pop that in. That may get used today. So there we are. The constant index of 8 has already been ported in. We've got a cruise flight level of 300. And the cruise temperature is showing to be -50. This simulator's got -44. We can go in and amend that. So click the slash key as we want to amend just this part, not the cruise flight level. So -50. There we go. We can also update the tropopause as well if we wish. So the tropopause is shown to be 31,100, so 31,000 feet. 31,100 feet. It's a little bit off, so we can edit that. 31,100. That goes in there, and that's now updated as well. Thanks to John Roberts for the like. Thank you very much on Facebook. You can now watch this on Facebook as well if you wish. Okay, so that is now all set up. That's the init A page. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come down and have a look at our flight plan. So if we go to that, you'll see all the waypoints have already been populated as they were loaded in automatically, but we have not yet got the runway, the standard instrument departure, or the star or the landing runways put in there. We have to do this automatically, which is fine. So if we come over again, we're going to be departing today. Here's our operational flight plan route. We're going to be departing today from runway 16 right, and then it actually says the Southern 7 Alpha departure, which isn't quite right actually. We have to use a different departure here. Where's it gone? I'm just going to get the SimBrief chart up. So it's the Southern oh sorry, it is the Southern 7 Alpha. Yes it is. No, that is correct. Ignore me. So it's the Southern 7 Alpha via the transition is Saucive today. If I just pull that across, we'll be able to see that. HD, I can understand why they use runway 25. It gets people out of the way, doesn't it? For noise reasons. The winds do favour this runway today, so that's okay. So on departure then, you can see the route that we have to take. Maximum speed of 200 knots throughout this turn and all the way to this point here, Rome 812. So that's a long time to hold 200 knots. We'll see how the aircraft plays with that, because there was a little bit of a bug which we discovered this morning, that it doesn't always like that. Unless we flew the entire departure to that point on flaps 1, although that wouldn't be very cost effective. So let's just get rid of that for the moment. So we need to pop this into the flight plan page. So runway 16 right, the Southern 7 Alpha. Departure runway 16 right, and the Southern 7 Alpha. Now let me just check this. Sorry, it's the Saucive 6 Whiskey. I knew there was a difference. Right, okay, so it's the Saucive 6 Whiskey departure, as you can see just there. Saucive 6 Whiskey. Saucive 6 Whiskey. So we're going to pop that one in there from runway 16 right. So I'll just give a moment for you to catch up while I have a look what's going on in the chat. Make sure we've not missed anything. Thank you to Christian, Rob and Rod on Facebook. Good to have you on board. So ATC would more than likely just give you free speed because they want to get you out of the way. No problem. Okay, so let's pop in the Sussex 6 whiskey. There it is. And the transition is via Southern. That is correct. So we can go ahead now and insert that. There we go. So with that then, that's the departure setup. Let's have a look at the arrival. So the arrival then into Innsbruck is going to be via the Brino 2 Alpha to runway 26. So Rizlavan Music, you got this Sussex 7 Quebec from your generated flight plan. I mean, obviously that's fine, that's your flight plan. That's why I suggested if everyone used my username, if you want to fly alongside with me, you'd all be using the exact same operational flight plan. But fair enough, obviously pop in the one that you wish to use. Alright, so Lowy, we're going to be using localizer runway 26. And I believe it's just the 26 normal. There it is. Yep. So localizer 26. The Brno 2 Alpha. Did I say it was the 2 Alpha? We can always double check. Yeah, the Brno 2 Alpha. There it is. And it is via the Rattenberg RTT NDB. So we can select that as well and insert. Okay, so I'll just give you guys a moment to catch up with that for anyone that's still doing it. Whilst you guys are just finishing that off, then I'm going to just get our passengers boarding. HD, is it localizer 26 right? Is it 26 right? I know there's a grass strip. That doesn't count, does it? Oh, it is. I've even got it on the Navigraph charts. 26 Romeo. There it is, localizer R. It's okay, I can go ahead and change that. So if you have just made the same mistake I've done, it does not matter. Localizer, just go back in, arrival, lock 26R, still via the Brno 2 Alpha and via the Rattenberg. There we go. Insert. What's the USR point, Danny? The USR point is a point where we decide how we make the turn and when to make the turn. No, it doesn't mean 26 right. It would only mean 26 right if there was an R after 26. As you can see, it's not. It's just a localizer R approach. I think there's a localizer echo approach, isn't there? Yeah. Oh no, it's not not a localizer approach, but there's an RNP echo and an RNP Zulu approach. Can't remember what the R stands for. But in this case, it's not right. Right, so now that's been done, as I say, I'm just going to start getting some passengers on board. So let's go ahead and do that, shall we? This is self-loading cargo, just to make things a little bit more realistic on the flight this evening. The next thing we're going to do now all the flight plan is set up is we're actually going to cross-reference the distance here on our flight plan with our operational flight plan. So you can see here it says 355 miles. Let's go over here and have a look. Now as you can see there's quite a big discrepancy there, distance of 414, and a lot of that is due to the fact that the database here in Microsoft Flight Simulator is not quite as accurate as Navigraph's, or certainly isn't for me because I haven't updated the Navigraph to the Navigraph database. So nothing much we can actually do about that. What we are going to do though is we're going to now come across and have a look to see how well this departure matches what I've got on my chart. So if I just bring out the navigation page just here, in fact, whilst I'm there, we can also as well, just before we go any further, we can set speed and heading to managed mode just by pushing those in, so we get the dashes and circles, and that changes from a dashed line to a nice solid line. Okay, so let's cross-reference this departure now against our our departure charts from Navigraph. Let's have a look. So as we can see, we have the user point. We ignore that. The user point is basically a point in Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is, it's sort of like a pseudo waypoint, which it bears no reference, but it can, you basically decide when you're going to make the turns and things like that. So if we have a look here, we've got 601, which is correct. Is that 106? Might be 606, just the way the range rings are interfering with that. In fact, just looking at some of these, they don't all match up exactly. Some of these waypoints, do they? The actual track looks to be the same, but these are using what look like to be radials. I'm not going to get too bogged down in the schematics of that. However, if we have a look as we go further out, Rome 812, that's correct. Rome 707, that's correct as well. Oh, HD, you've remembered what the lock R means. It means there's an RNAV missed approach, which there is. Let's hope we don't have to do it. So, V1 rotate club, it's the flex temp. Don't worry, sir, we've not got there yet. So, yeah, and as HD's just said, the user waypoint will be that point where it defines a no turns below blah blah blah. So we basically, you can see no turns below 620 feet. That user point is basically telling us something like that. We need to be above 620 feet before we decide when we're going to start making that steady right hand bank. Okay, but that looks alright to me. That actually looks to be coded quite well and match what I've got. Now if I flip through the flight plan, which is what I'm going to do down here, we're going to flip through that, and now let's have a look to see what the arrival into Innsbruck looks like. Okay, so that actually looks pretty good as well. If I just bring that arrival into Innsbruck, so we actually arrive here at Brno. We then get to the Innsbruck NDB, which you can see, so we'll see the airport well before we land at it, which is fine. We then track to the Rattenberg NDB, which is just here, and then if you leave the autopilot on, this is where we've got to be a little bit clever and manipulate it, because if you left the autopilot on, the autopilot would then want to it would want to make you do a 180 degree turn around here to Adwig. So I think I was just chatting to HD before this stream. I've only ever approached Innsbruck from the north before, so that actually becomes quite easy. Approaching from the south, then HD, make sure your ears are pricking up in case I say something incorrect here. We'd want to overfly the Rattenberg NDB and basically fly this track out for a minute, and then we'd want to come back on a heading of 226. So we'd want to overfly, come back, and head it out on a 226 radial to then intercept the localizer. And it's actually at a 210 radial out from Rattenberg to intercept that localizer, going to Adwig, which we can see just here. But more about that in the actual flight. Okay, but the main thing is the flight plan looks to be coded quite nicely, so we can turn those constraints on as well. Let's close that down. Let's go back to arc mode. Alright, so I'm happy with the flight plan. Flight plan looks good. So let's have a look at the RadNav page. So the radio and navigation page. Let's have a look at the standard instrument departure again. There's nothing here on the standard instrument departure that we, because it's an RNAV standard instrument departure, there's nothing we need here. What we can do, and we've seen this before, you'll have seen when we take off on the primary flight display, you'd normally see on here, man flex or man toga, SRS for the speeds, and then runway displayed just there. Well, runway is only displayed if the aircraft has got an ILS frequency plumbed in just here, and it should be the ILS frequency of the departing runway. Now, in previous incarnations of this aircraft, that used to work and do it correctly. For some reason, here in the experimental version, it's not working. So, if we just go to the charts, and if I just close that, I want the charts back again for Rome, and the approach charts for runway 16 right, which is where we're departing from. So the departure ILS frequency is 109.75. Excuse me, something stuck in my throat. 109.75. So if we pop that in, we should get runway on displayed on the FMA as we depart. So 109.75, 109.75. There we go. So there we are. Let's move on. So the RadNav page is sorted. Now we're going to come back to our init B page that was forgotten this morning. The less said about that, the better. Alright, so our zero fuel weight and zero fuel weight centre of gravity. So we come back over here. And our zero fuel weight is 59.7. And our zero fuel weight centre of gravity, as you'll remember, we set at 30. Okay, we're now going to pop in the trip wind as well. So the winds for today, oh, a nice tailwind of 32. If it was a headwind, it would read H. So a tailwind of 32. And now we're going to hit the fuel planning page. This will tell us probably that we require something like around 4 tons, but obviously we've landed a couple of tons more than that, which is fine given the weather that we're experiencing. So fuel planning. So there you go, 3.9, but we've actually got on board 7 tons. So we're going to type in 7.0 and pop that in as the block. And now we get our takeoff weight. So this is where the fun bit begins. So there we go, takeoff weight, landing weight, there you go HD, landing weight of 64.4, that's great guns. Now the alternate is 400 kilograms. Let's double check, that seems rather low on 13 minutes, let's see. Alternate, yeah, so that's closer to a ton, isn't it? So let's change that to a ton, 1.0. There it is, and 27 minutes flight time, 26 minutes flight time, 29 minutes flight time, that's fine. And then if we go to our fuel prediction page, estimated fuel on board when we land 4.5 tons, that's fine. Okay, so let's just double check then what was that takeoff weight, because we're going to need that now, as our takeoff weight becomes 66.6. And we're going to use that for our performance calculations. Now normally HD is great and gives me real world ones, but for the sake of this tutorial we're going to go and use the online one, which is just here from wabpro. Is that the Czech Republic? CZ. Anyway, bookmark this because it's fantastic. Obviously we're flying the Airbus A320. Let's just get the latest METAR. So there's Rome, latest METAR. Visibility has improved a little bit. So the QNH has also changed. QNH is now 1017. So we'll have to go ahead and update that in a moment, as we've been sat on the ground chatting for 45 minutes, but that's fine. So now we're going to put our takeoff weight, which was 66.6 tons. So there we go. There's our takeoff weight. We know we're departing from runway 16 right. So we can select that. And now it's asking, oh, HD, could you just check that? It said noise abatement 1. I couldn't find anything in the charts to support that. I thought it was noise abatement 2. This website isn't always 100% accurate with regards to that, so we'll gloss over that for the time being. So now we're going to work out whether we can take off with a flex temp takeoff as opposed to toga. And what we need to do now is bring the charts back and have a look at the runway we are departing from. So as I said, we're departing from runway 16 right. And if we have a look here, we've got takeoff run available, runway 16 right. So from the runway head, which is basically the very end of the runway, we've got 3,902 meters, or we can also use taxiway Alpha Charlie intersection. So where's the taxiway Alpha Charlie intersection? Let's have a quick look at that and find out. So the Alpha Charlie intersection, oh, it's just there. So basically, instead of using the entire runway to take off, we can say, let's try and put the performance figures in. So for the Alpha Charlie intersection, because that just saves us a bit of fuel. We don't have to taxi all the way down there. So we're going to select the Alpha Charlie intersection, which means we want to check how much runway is actually available. So from the Alpha Charlie intersection, we've got 2,948 meters. We need to make sure that's correct. So instead of full, we're going to go Alpha Charlie 2,948. This is why I love this website. It's very, very rarely wrong. So that matches up perfectly. So we've got the takeoff weight, we've got the intersection we're going to depart from, and the takeoff runway available is correct. We're now going to hit calculate. And hopefully this will work. This doesn't usually take this long. Error occurred. Please try again. Oh, okay. Well, tell you what, let's just reset the form. So get the meta. Oh, it's not liking it, is it? Oh, timeout. Right, okay, tell you what, let's close that down. Let's open it up again. Oh, maybe the website's on the blink. That would be annoying, wouldn't it? Anyway, we've had the beep to tell me that all the passengers are on board anyway. Oh, HD, you might end up doing the calculations for me. Oh, the server's temporarily unavailable due to requesting maintenance. Oh, that's annoying. Right, well, HD, do you fancy doing a quick calculation for me? So, we want anti-ice on, we want wet runway, and I was, basically wanted to show the difference in the flex temps between dry runways and wet runways. So, HD to the rescue. HD is now going to get those figures for me. Let's get that out of the way. Okay, I shouldn't have said it's very rarely wrong. It isn't. It's usually one of the most reliable sites ever. But you've just seen how we basically go ahead and use it. All that was left to do was press the calculate button. I was then going to go through, do another calculation, but add the weather and show you the difference between them. But I can't do that. However, HD is using a real world version. So now we're going to come to the performance page. I'm going to put these speeds in. So V1 is going to be 133, 135 for the rotate, and V2 HD says 138. Now, of course, we don't always have HD, and if you don't want to use that website, you can calculate these V speeds automatically by just select it. So I've left V2 blank intentionally at the moment. If I now select this button, it will come up and tell me, and actually look at that. That's come across and told me that's pretty accurate. In fact, that's exactly what HD's told me of 138. So that's a flaps 1 departure, which is normal, and the flex is 64 degrees. It would have been interesting to see what the website gave us to compare that to what HD would have given us. Transition altitude then. Let's have a look what the transition altitude is. We'll find that on our departure charts. The transition altitude is 6,000 feet. So let's pop that in. There we go. Thrust reduction and acceleration. It's a normal noise abatement to departure here, so we don't need to touch those. We can leave those for the sake of this tutorial video. So that's fine. Alright, so MadSib, the figures differ even though you've just done everything with me. Which figures? If you're talking about the V-speeds, mine came from a real world use thing, and obviously the simulator is slightly different, so that's fine. But yeah, those speeds are pretty good. If we can get flex temp from the flypad now from FlyByWire, that'll be great. I'm sure that'll come in time. So now the takeoff page is all done, and we've set everything. We've got the rad nav, we've got fuel prediction, we've got the performance, we've got the init, and we've got the data. So with that then, we're ready to do our departure briefing. So we've spoken a little bit about this anyway, so we're going to now push back. Where are we on the actual on the actual runway, on the actual airport? So we're parked here at, I believe it's stand 606, it could be 607. Oh look, the weather's improved. There we go, we're right on the corner, aren't we? So we're right on the corner, which is 607. We're going to push back and face, we can face north. That's going to be a good pushback. In fact, we push back facing west, don't we? Push back facing west, then we'll taxi via Sierra, Hotel, then Alpha, crossing runway 25. And we'll cross runway 25 just here, and then we'll hold short of Alpha Charlie, which is where we're going to depart from. Let's have a look then what happens on our actual departure then. Again, we've pretty much briefed this. So we need to check now the performance page. We've got these maximum speeds here of 200 knots. If we go back to the performance page, we could fly right, we could fly S speed as it's just under 200 knots. We could fly S speed all the way, couldn't we? HT, can we fly S speed up until Romeo Fox 812, or would you rather us be clean by that point and target 200 knots, because clean speed, green dot, is 219. I don't want to get bogged down too much for the sake of a quick flight. I'm not trying to do a real ops flight here, but it would be interesting to see how you'd take that. Either way, there's our little bit of a departure brief. That's what we expect to happen as we fly out. What I can do is we can now come out of here. That's all set up, and refueling's done. We best get those seatbelt signs on, turn those fuel pumps on, and start the APU. We can then tell the GPU to disappear. Good evening, Yap. Okay, APU master is now on with the passengers on board. Jetway can, or Jetway has disappeared already, sort of. Main door's closed.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board our Easyjet service. Please place your large bags into the overhead locker, wheels first, and keep your small items under the seat in front of you. These include laptops, handbags, duty-free and loose items of clothing. Once you have safely stowed your cabin bag, please take your seat. To help us ensure a prompt departure, we would kindly ask that you keep the aisle clear, enabling all remaining customers to board. Your seatbelt can now be fastened ready for departure. This is a no smoking service. Thank you for observing this policy.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, so we're about ready to push back. Well, obviously no air traffic control to worry about today. Check that APU is running and ready, which it is, so we're going to turn on the APU bleed, which means now we can disconnect external power. And if you want to be really realistic, you can go to the ground page and tell it to go away. politely, and there it goes. Christian, you're right, there was a QNH change. I would have picked that up in my in my PEDs as we were going through, but the QNH is 1017 as it did change, so we'll go ahead and change that. I don't think that changes your flex, does it, HD, because it's gone up. Okay, so let's do our before start checklist to the line. Before start checklist, cockpit preparation is now all completed. The signs are on and auto. Our radios are aligned. We've already checked 3 nav green. We've got 7 tons of fuel loaded. Flight management guidance system is all coded in correctly, and an altimeter is 1017. That and cross-checked, set and cross-checked. So we'd now get our pushback clearance, and we're going to turn the rotating beacon light on, and the tug driver will start to move into position. So that's the tug driver coming in. I'm just going to add a little bit of light to the flight deck. It does look a little bit gloomy, doesn't it? Get above the clouds, I'm sure it'll be fine. Right, so we're now going to start the elapsed time ready for our pushback. And the acupressure is in the green. Transponder to standby as we start to move. And let's get those doors armed, which they are. And we'll welcome you all on board, and we'll start pushing back. After we start pushing back, we're going to go engine mode selector to ignition, and we will start engine 1. Releasing the parking brakes.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. My name is Gavin, and I would like to welcome you on board this Easyjet aircraft. We expect a good flight with you today with no weather problems showing in front of us, so we should be pushing back within the next few minutes or so. For now, the ground crew have now finished loading the last of the baggage into the aircraft, so if you could get yourself seated and secured, then we can make sure we can depart on time. The cabin crew will shortly be providing their safety demonstration video, so it would be appreciated if you could give them your full attention. A special welcome on board to our Easyjetsimpilot members, and if you wish to inquire about becoming a member, please contact a member of the cabin crew. All our Easyjetsimpilot members are of course entitled to free drinks throughout the flight. Thanks very much, and we'll give you an update once we are airborne.
Okay.
We now ask
So,
your attention while we take you through the safety procedures on
see how good the
aircraft.
tug driver is.
A safety card is in your seat pocket showing the exit routes, oxygen masks, life jackets and brace position that you must adopt if you hear brace, brace. There are 2 emergency exits at the rear, 4 in the middle, and 2 at the front of the cabin. Floor lighting will guide you to an exit. Please be aware that your nearest exit may be behind you. In an emergency, leave all cabin baggage on board. Your seatbelt is fastened, adjusted, and released as shown. It must be fastened when the seatbelt signs are on, and we recommend that you keep it fastened at all times. If the air supply fails, masks will drop from above you. Pull a mask towards you to start the oxygen. Put the mask over your nose and mouth. Hold in place with the strap. Pull on each side to adjust. Put on your own mask before helping others. If we land on water, take the life jacket from under your seat. Put it over your head. Pass the tapes around your waist. Click together and pull the strap to adjust. Do not inflate it inside the aircraft. When outside, inflate by pulling the toggle. If it fails to inflate or needs topping up, blow into the tube. There is a light and whistle for attracting attention. We also carry flotation aids for children. Your tray table must now be stowed, armrest down, window blinds open, and seatbelt fastened. We wish you a pleasant flight with Easyjet.
So the visibility does look to have improved a little bit, which is neat. Should be a nice takeoff. Straight into the low level of cloud and then bursting out at the top. I kind of like murky departures. Is that weird? It's nice to have some decent weather. Oh, his birds leave. Very kind of you, sir. Thank you for your donation there. And Eastbird's Lee says, enjoy the flight, peeps. We'll follow the tutorial later after work. Oh, great stuff. Well, at least doing it at a later stage, you'll know what not to do. Nick, you've got light rain and sun. Where are you? Are you at the same airfield I am? Brett, the brakes are most certainly not on. We wouldn't be moving if they were. We've just got a nice cautious tug driver who appears to be not doing a bad job. Pushback is complete, so parking brakes set. And engine 1 and 2 are stabilized, so we can now put the engine mode selector back to norm. We can come up. So APU bleed coming off, anti-ice is coming on, APU master is coming off as well. Back down here we're going to arm the ground spoilers. We're going to set rudder trim, make sure that's 0. We're going to select flaps 1. And we're going to check that trim status. Center of gravity is about 31.8. So to set that, I'll just do that slower in case you missed that. So the center of gravity for the aircraft with all the passengers and fuel on is showing at 31.77, so 31.8. Basically, you're just using this this C of G, which is quite difficult to see here. You can see it at 25, 30, and we want to set it as close as we can to 31.7, which would be probably around there. So there we go, that's set. And we're done. As long as it's within the green lines, you're usually good. Have we got a problem with the stream, guys? I've not got a problem. HD, can you refresh your stream for me? Mind you, we won't be able to hear. I don't think we've got a problem with the stream. Anybody else got a problem? You have to let me know. That is, of course, if you can. Alright, so we're now going to do a flight control check while we're sat here. So we want to also tell the tug driver that he can disappear. So tug driver is disappearing. We're now going to do our flight control check. So watching the lower ear cam, move the side 6 full left, full right, neutral, full up, full down, neutral, and the rudder, full right, full left, neutral. Maybe HD is watching Peppa Pig. Be nice that it's not me. Alright, let's run the after start checklist then. So anti-ice is on, ECAM status is all clear, normal and checked. Pitch trim is 31.7 and the rudder trim confirmed 0. Good. That rain's starting to come back in again. Alright, we're now getting ready to actually do the taxi. So we're going to turn on the taxi light. Pushback is clear. We get our taxi clearance from air traffic control if they were here. We're going to release those parking brakes. A little bit of thrust and let's start moving. So make sure you've got the ground charts on so you know where we're going. Oh, HD, is it your internet that's gone? Oh no. HD's watching Peppa Pig. Right, so turning right here onto Sierra and then left immediately on to Hotel. Flight fan, you love how it took over an hour to get pushed back. That's the real world, my friend. Particularly as we did everything from cold and dark. So now we're taxiing. Let's get a few more things on. So we want to turn the weather radar on. That's going to light the navigation display up, isn't it? Let's get the predictive wind shear turned on. Let's get auto brakes set to max. We can ding that cabin crew as well. Tell them to get sat down. And we can press TL config, make sure everything is configured as it should be. And look at that rain coming in. That's great. Let's make sure we don't get lost. I need to make sure we take the correct taxiways. Low visibility procedures may be coming in. William, you just rated us on Twitch. Thank you very much, sir. And HD is back on. Has the wife stopped watching Peppa Pig? Right, so we need to check. I need to check where we are because visibility just dropped drastically. That's why we have signs. So that's Alpha. There we go. We want to turn right onto taxiway Alpha. This is beautifully realistic. It was visibility was fantastic when we pushed back. Look at this rainstorm coming in. Speed limit for taxi V1 rotate club 30 knots in a straight line and 10 in a turn. So we're now crossing that runway. Air traffic control would give us permission to cross the runway. This weather looks fantastic, doesn't it? Okay, so as I'm really concentrating on the charts here to make sure I don't get lost, we want to take the second left, guys. Second left, as you can see now, we're... I'll just bring the charts up for you. So we've just crossed runway 7 there, and we're taxiing along here. So not the first left, second left to Alpha Charlie. That's where we're headed. Oh, HD, is that the CCTV that's causing issues? Oh dear. This weather's just playing tricks with my eyes. And they're not the best anyway. But yeah, it's 1 minute the rain rolls in, it rolls back out again. It's beautiful. You know, when I was younger, I used to pray for these sorts of kinds of simulations that could do stuff as realistic as this. Okay, so let's have a look. There's our runway. There's our taxiway we're not going on. Alpha Charlie is just here, and I'm just double checking with no change in the QNH. QNH is still 1017. That's correct. So engine out procedure. If we had a problem, well, we're not going to have a problem, but if we did have a problem, we'd look to return here. We're below maximum landing weight, and we've got 2 good long runways, regardless of the weather. So this is where we're going to be coming. Does the departure does match what we've got in the FMGC, and our stop altitude for this departure is 6,000 feet. And just check we've got that in the FCU. Yes, we do. Gear down locked, so why not put the aircraft on the Navigraph map? Oh, just because it's extra resources, which I don't want my computer to have to hog. Plus which, it's a little bit more realistic not having that moving map. Maybe if I was flying the A350 or A380, something like that. Okay, so holding short of the stop lines, and once again, look at that, that visibility has increased a little bit. So I just pop the parking brakes on while we do some final checks. So flight controls has been checked, departure briefing confirmed, we know what we're doing with regards to that. We're basically going to hold flaps 1 out until passing that speed restriction. FMA and takeoff data. So we've got 133 blue, 138 magenta climb, nav blue, 6000 blue, 1 FD2, and a flex temp of 64 degrees. Flaps 1 config, transponder is set, ECA memo takeoff no blue, electronic flight bag is stowed. All's looking good just there then. So before we actually line up on the runway, check the brake temperatures, they're all fine, and let's get those lights on. So strobe lights, runway turn off lights, landing lights, nose lights. Let's now come down. Oh, we want to turn the packs off as well for departure. So packs now off, and transponder on, TCAS TARA, tilt above. Now we'd run the before takeoff checklist below the line. So the cabin is secured for takeoff. It is in the simulator. It is not in self-loading cargo. It is now.
Cabin crew seat for takeoff, please.
So TCAS is set. Packs are off. Anti-ice is on. All's looking good. Let's roll out onto the runway. So at this point, air traffic control would obviously have given you a line-up clearance. So we're going to get lined up and then hold our position. And this is a very wide runway, which, for those of you that saw me land here the other night, completely threw me off. Particularly landing at night. The fact that the runway is so wide, it plays tricks on you. Okay, so now we're all set, we're ready to go. Final checks, just check the overhead panel, everything looks as it should be. Everything down here looks again as it should be. We're ready to rock and roll. So we're going to depart, we're going to go thrust reduction, and acceleration altitude is about 1,000 feet. We're going to keep the flaps 1 out, config 1 out, until we've flown through this turn just here to pass Rome 812. After that, we can clean the aircraft up and continue on our way. So, let's go. For those of you flying along with me, good luck. I'll see you in Innsbruck. So we're going to start the chrono, side stick forward, and set 50% N1. And set takeoff thrust, man flex, SRS, and strangely enough runway's still not showing, but never mind, sim bug. Because we actually manually popped that in, didn't we? 80 knots, pull the side stick back, so we're neutral by 100 knots. V1, rotate. Pitching up to about 15 degrees, gear up. No turns below 620 feet. So there we go, we're past that now. We can begin that turn. Follow those flight directives. If you're on the experimental version, the flight directives are actually pretty good, so do follow those. Right, so there's thrust reduction coming in. Lower that nose a little bit and select climb thrust. And we can turn the packs back on now. Pack 1, pack 2 on, and I'm just watching these flight directors now. Now 200 knots is the maximum, so I'm hoping the aircraft will hold that as we've targeted S speed. It's still staying climb thrust, thrust climb, which is a bit of a pain. So let's set 200 knots there, as that's not working, unfortunately. Let's lift that nose up. So that's a bug. The aircraft would normally be working a bit better than that. Sadly it's not, but basically try and follow those flight directives just as we're doing there. Get those green crosses in the centre. There we go. Now it's targeting speed and alt star, and 6,000 feet was our initial stop climb, so we're now lowering that nose to maintain 6,000 feet. We've now got speed and alt star showing. And now it's targeting 200 knots. Whenever it shows speed, it will then target the 200 knots. It should have done that sooner, but sadly it didn't. Okay, so air traffic control now at this point would probably want to clear us, and also remove the speed restriction just to get rid of us. Just watch we don't descend there. And now let's set an altitude. Let's set an altitude of, we can pick any altitude we want. Let's select flight level 200, so pull the standard for the barrow. We're now selecting flight level 200, we passed S speed, flaps 0, ground spoilers disarmed. Lift that nose up to begin that climb away. We're now in thrust climb again, climb. So you probably saw the problem there. As I lowered the nose to try and maintain 6,000 feet, the aircraft just breaks the speed restriction. Now unfortunately that's a bug, not much we can do about that. But now we're on our way. Let's go manage speed and autopilot 1 coming on.
Fastened while the seatbelt sign is on. We recommend that you keep your seatbelt fastened whenever you are seated. Toilets are located at each end of the cabin. Remember that smoking is not permitted at any time. This includes e-cigarettes.
So we're about to pass 10,000 feet. The lights can come off. Told you it'll be a little bit brighter above the clouds. HD, I'm in managed speed. Oh, sorry, I know the stream is a few seconds behind. Well, I think the stream's a good 30, 40 seconds behind. So now we're at 10,000 feet. We can probably look now to climb at our cruising altitude today, which is flight level 300. If we go to the progress page, we can see cruise altitude is flight level 300. The optimum is flight level 390, but that's just telling you the optimums and obviously the max. So cruise 300. We can now select that and ensure we've got Flight level 300 also set here. And we're away. Yeah, yeah, Christian, if I'm not careful, HD is going to take his CCTV frustrations out on me. Let's turn those displays up though now, though, shall we? As we're above the clouds, everything's looking rather bright, rather dark, as the sun's shining on them. Ah, Juicy, good to see you. Glad you're on board. Alex N, which aircraft are you flying? Are you flying the experimental or the dev? Christian, I think the world update is tomorrow. How to disable AI ATC? That is... Oh, which setting is that? What's it called? If you press the escape key, it's the middle one, I think. Is it the middle one? Do you know, I can't remember now. So we can release the cabin crew, give them a double ding. We're out of all those horrible clouds, so let's turn off the anti-ice. They're not required. Alex, that's the difference. I'm on the experimental version, which uses the custom autopilot, so I think that's where it's not quite correct. So in our 18,000 feet, weather doesn't look too bad up here. We could probably turn those seatbelt signs off. So, won't be too long before we're actually flying over the Alps today. Quick look outside. HD's frozen. Oh, Christian, yeah, I'm worried about tomorrow. Is it tomorrow the world update comes out? Updates shouldn't fill us with dread, should they? But unfortunately, for as past experience has shown. And Nick, sir, thank you very, very much for your continued support of the channel and your kind, very kind donation there. Nick says, hopefully this will be good. This is your first time into Innsbruck. Oh, yeah, mine too. Chris Like PC Games on Twitch. Hello, sir. Thanks for watching. I think I can just spy a little rainbow down there, just ahead of the aircraft's nose. Yeah, tomorrow's a live Q&A. The 15th is the world update. Oh, is that Thursday? Oh, right. Oh, yeah, definitely a rainbow there. Do you know what? I haven't seen that many rainbows in the sim. I see them occasionally. But I think it's nice that you don't see them all of the time. They'd cease to lose their magic, although, given the decorating I've been doing recently, I'm fed up of seeing rainbows. So now just monitoring everything, making sure our climb and the aircraft is doing as it should, which it appears to be at the moment. Flight level 250, 5,000 feet to go, and then we're at our cruising altitude. Then we'll start having a look at how our arrival is going to pan out. So just a reminder as well, if you wish, you can also find us on Facebook, the exact same username, Easyjetsimpilot, for those of you that like watching on there as well. Mad Sib, hopefully they'll fix the exaggerated icing. We always say that, don't we? We always think, this is it, this is the update. It's going to get rid of the icing, but it never does. Harley, on your flight display below the standard box, you've got a new box showing 6,620 meters. Yeah, what's happened, mate? You've just pressed that little button there, that little black button between the VS knob and the altitude knob. If you select that, you'll turn on your height in meters instead of feet, used in places like China.
In just a few moments, we'll commence our in-flight service, offering you the chance to purchase from our selection of fresh food available today. Full details can be found in your in-flight brochure. We accept payment in pounds, euros, most major currencies, and debit or credit cards. The correct change would be greatly appreciated, and if we can be of any further assistance, then just ask us as we join you in the cabin shortly.
Okay, well, grab your snacks while you can. The alcohol will be around shortly. So, whilst we're just in this sort of nice little relaxed moment before the fun begins, descending into a snowy Innsbruck, how many of you are flying alongside on your own sims at home? How many are doing the live, basically, tutorial and copying everything as we're going along and doing it? That will... I always find that interesting to know. Turn that weather radar down a little bit. That looks like a lot of red, doesn't it? And Mad said the chrono is basically a stopwatch. There's the point. Have we actually got it running at the right speed this time? Yeah, appears to be. They look like normal seconds. So Nick's flying with us, Harley's flying with us, and Razvan's music, Adnir, Jan. Excellent. David, no, I use self-loading cargo for that. Right, let me just update the meta on the flypad. What do we have? Light snow visibility, still within limits. Few clouds 3,000, broken 700 feet. See, that's going to be my issue. Are we recent snow? Yeah, are we going to see the runway? Are we going to see the runway? Right, speed, alt, cruise. Let's check for alts. Oh no, we're done. Speed, alt, cruise. All good. Right, so with that in mind, let's have a look at our arrival into Innsbruck then. So, our arrival begins at Brno, just here. From Brno then, we want to be no lower than 14,000 feet. The fact that that's not a flight level tells me that... what's the transition level? By air traffic control, but it's going to be... HD, you don't happen to know what the transition level is, do you? Oh, hang on. Oh, no, yeah, I'm on the right chart. What the transition level is, it is something really high, but I didn't think it was as high as 14,000 feet. Let me have a look. It just says that it's by air traffic control. Yeah, transition level by air traffic control. Air traffic control isn't there today, so I'm guessing we want to use local pressure. Well, if we're on local pressure by the time we get to 14,000 feet, that should be fine. Then, so we want to be at 14,000 feet by Brno, or certainly no lower than 14,000 feet. At Brno. Rattenberg, we want to be at 12,000 feet, and then from Rattenberg, as we make the 180, then we want to start descending once we're outbound from Rattenberg to 9,500 feet. Oh, actually, no, we want to be at 9,500 feet by Rattenberg, according to that. Just check that. Yeah, 9,500 feet at Rattenberg. HD, help me out. Why do we want to be above 12,000 feet? Presumably that's when we're inbound to Rattenberg, and then once we've crossed Rattenberg, we want to begin the descent to 9,500 feet. Normally they line up. I'm not sure why Rattenberg is 9,500 just there. Well, we want to be 9,500 by Advig anyway, so even if we were at 12,000 feet at Rattenberg, then we've got plenty of time to get down to 9,500. So let's brief that arrival. So Brno want to be 14,000 feet or above 14,000 feet, but the key one here is to be 12,000 feet at Rattenberg. Once we come outbound here, so from Rattenberg we'll fly a track of 046, we'll then make a 180 back around to 226 degrees, descending to 9,500 feet on the approach to intercept the localizer. Offset localizer, of course, and minimum descent altitude is 2,250 feet. And of course, that is something everybody needs to be aware of, the offset localizer. We're going to manually have to pop in the lock DME frequency, as I don't think it's going to automatically populate. We'll leave it for now, but we just need to be aware that it is 111.1, as you can see there. And the localizer course is offset by 4 degrees, so it still essentially becomes a visual landing. And there it is. If we zoom out enough on the navigation display, we can see that we're probably around 200 miles away. So it's not a long flight, this one, but plenty of time for you to get your drinks in. Alex N, there's a Q&H, there's a Meta as well, Christian as well. Thank you for those. It's cold. Cold and snowy. Let's just have a look at this missed approach. If I bring this back in. So, if we do have a missed approach, we're actually screwed because the aircraft and the simulator doesn't have a missed approach go-around track. And you can see the go-around track is basically you continue straight out and you basically fly up the valley, get to this waypoint here, spin all the way back round and then fly back to begin the approach all over again, which we'd sort of have to hand fly, which I don't fancy doing. And HD just giving us a little bit of local procedural knowledge there. APU on at 20,000 feet. Give power to those engines, particularly in the case of a go-around. And the glide slope push button needs to be turned off when we are visual. Which makes sense. Look at that wall of cloud ahead of us. That looks nasty. So if anyone does have any questions, now is a great time to ask them. Not too much taking place at the moment. We're quite happy. Yep, I like that. Missed approach checklist. Turn the terrain radar on and pray. I am for the sake of this. You should have the airports on the EFIS, but it just obliterates the navigation display as it shows too many of them. Mooney Adventures, when is the top of descent? Oh, not too long. Not too long. It's not a long flight. So HD's just flagged up as well, that which makes perfect sense. You don't really want to accelerate on a missed approach. You just kind of want to gently glide over the airfield and well, climb. Soft go around would be a perfect example of when it would be used here. Jimmy, good evening. Danny, could I go quickly over the different light switches of the overhead panel and when they come on, etc. Right, so you've obviously got 8 switches. I'll start at the top right. Navigation and logo lights, they're the green and red lights at the end of the wingtips to identify which is the right wing and the left wing. Logo lights, they're self-explanatory on the tail. The wing lights, they shine lights onto the wings. They're only normally used at night time to check for icing and such things. The beacon light is the rotating flashing red beacon above and below the fuselage that alerts that's on whenever the engines are powering on and running to alert ground crew. The strobe lights are obviously the strobes that flash on the ends of the wings, and then the runway turn off lights and the nose lights are on the gear, which come on for takeoff and landing, of course. Leaving the taxi light on. The takeoff light is just, I think it's a separate light, but it's much brighter. And then the landing lights, again, they're self-explanatory. Used for landing and departure. HD, does soft go around not keep it at a slow speed? Oh, fair enough. That would only give you 2,000 feet per minute climb, and you want to be getting out of the valley faster than that. I'm not going to argue with you. Christian, does SimBrief always select the correct runway? It usually selects the correct runway regarding the weather. Whether it's the correct runway with regards to what you'd actually use is a different matter. For example, I always use Manchester, my local airport. So Manchester here in the UK, they've got 2 runways, and they normally always use 2-3 right for departing and landing, and 2-3 left always for just departing, never for landing. But SimBrief will always give you a landing at 2-3 left. So right orientation, wrong runway. HD glide slope button above the head. Yeah, turning that off so it's not beeping away at us once we're visual. Oh, frame rates. I've lost my frame rates. Hopefully they'll come back before we arrive into Innsbruck. So, I'm just going to have a quick, go and get a quick refresh of the drink, and then I'll be back as we start to do this approach into Innsbruck. Hope everyone is having a great flight with us so far and enjoying the tutorial, following everything. The fun bit will begin very, very shortly. And just before I go, can I just say, Chewy, thank you very, very much for your continued support. And Chewy says, great stuff, have a great landing. Oh, Chewy. You'll have to follow this through one time, and hopefully you'll be able to fly this one with us. Obviously, you flew the long haul with us earlier today, didn't you? No problems for you. I think you're one of the few aircraft that did it all the way through with no problem. Okay, I'm just going to go refresh my drink. I shall be back very, very soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, take full advantage of your tax-free allowances today and make some amazing savings with our boutique range. In your in-flight brochure, you'll find details of our award-winning selection of gifts, most with massive discounts, some of which are exclusive to you as an Easyjet customer. Make the most of your opportunity to shop and save from the comfort of your seat. If you'd like to see any products, have any questions, or would like to make great savings, then just ask us as we join you in the cabin shortly.
Okay guys, back with you. These clouds are looking a bit epic tonight, aren't they? Let's hope they've disappeared by the time we get to Innsbruck. Okay, so let's go ahead and start preparing for our arrival. Let's go and get some weather. So to the ATSU menu, to the AOC menu, weather request, and send that off. Christian, I was just reading that. I'm surprised Facebook didn't block that. Facebook, YouTube didn't block that. So there's the company message coming in. Let's go and get those received messages. Meta and print. So we're 120 miles away from Brno at the moment, so still plenty of time to let the anticipation and anxiety build, and panic of course. Dark, I promise you I am not using Rex weather clouds. This is purely default. Look good though, don't they? It's the way that you've sort of like got gaps in the clouds as well. Almost like an eye of a storm situation going on. HD, you can talk us through that if you would be so kind. So at 20,000 feet, the APU's coming on, and we're turning on the APU bleed air, presumably. So that the engines, from a performance point of view, have got all the power they need if we need to use them. Chewie, has FSX been selected? It does this a lot. I don't know why. I don't even select it. It's automatic. Nick, you're circling again above Luma. Oh, that's no good. So HD APU on. When it's on, one pack off. Turn on the APU bleed. Then put it back on again. Oh, you just turn one off to stop the surges. Yeah, that's the other thing that I never do correctly in the simulator. You'll have seen me on takeoff put in pack 1 and 2 back on instantly, and you should give about 10 seconds between the two, but just because I'm here in the sim, I can't sit up there and watch for 10 seconds while goodness knows what's happening outside the screen. Shamrock 1710 is the 1660 overclocked. No, not at all. I wouldn't even know how to do that. But these clouds are looking really neat, aren't they? Definitely not FSX clouds. Guarantee that. Oh, Mad Civ, thank you very much, sir, for for your donation to the channel. Madsip says, keep it up. Well, hopefully we'll give you an entertaining landing, if nothing else. That's presuming, of course, we can actually see the runway when we get there. It's going to be covered in snow. So, thank you, Madsip, you're very kind. Toby, you think my voice is nice and relaxing? I don't think my children, or wife for that matter, would agree with you. HD, that's a great tip. This is where you don't go flaps full until fully visual. Stay flaps 3, because we were talking about this the other day. You can't deploy spoilers if your flaps full. And you may need them, so only go flaps 3 until you're completely happy. Which makes sense, of course. Those of you on Twitch and on Facebook that have just followed, thank you very much. Braden, you're hungry, but you don't want to leave. Oh, fair enough. Can't you pop us on your phone or tablet and just take us with you?
In just a few moments, we'll commence our in-flight service, offering you the chance to purchase a selection of hot beverages, together with drinks and snacks from the bar.
From the bar.
We accept payment in pounds, euros, most major currencies, and debit or credit cards. The correct change would be greatly appreciated, and if we can be of any further assistance, then just ask us as we join you in the cabin shortly.
Obi-Wan! Oh, I love that username. Thank you very much, sir, for your €5.49 donation. Hope we give you a safe landing, and please do grab a free drink from the bar as the cabin crew start to make their way around. And it won't be long now before we actually start our descent. So thrust idle, open descent, reducing that speed back, and we'll start to head down. I think we're also going to need the ice on as we start descending through this cloud layer, aren't we? So let's get that on. And we're now going to enter our information into the performance page. So, QNH 1027. And the temperature is 0 degrees. Wind is indicated 270 at 4. Transition altitude, we said we were going to pop in 11,000 for that. It's normally given by air traffic control, but obviously air traffic control isn't online tonight. And our decision minimum descent altitude is 2,250 feet. Anthony, good evening. Gosh, you've missed a week of flying, and fly-by-wire isn't the default aircraft anymore. No, quite right too. A little bit of turbulence there. Don't spill your drinks. HD, a bunny strike. Did you carry on? Did you... Surely, have you run over that? Or is a bunny light enough to get flipped up and sucked into the engine? Oh, self-loading cargo aren't going to like this turbulence. Should we get those seatbelt signs on early? I think so.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned on the fasten seatbelt sign. If you could please return to your seats and ensure that your seatbelt is securely fastened. If you are travelling with an infant, please ensure that they are secured safely using the infant seatbelt provided. The toilets will now go out of use until the fasten seatbelt sign is turned on. Please contact a member of the cabin crew if you require assistance. Thank you.
So we're on our way down. We're using open descent and we've selected our speed to 270 knots. The aircraft does a great job now of holding that that speed. Why is my fuel flow... oh no, that's okay. On the flight today I was also seeing my fuel flow for various engines dropping to 0, which was interesting. HD, you didn't have to clean your landing gear, did you? Presumably that wasn't your job. And we can probably just slow down that rate of descent a little bit. So if we now just select, go VS to about 1500 feet per minute, double check that, VS 1500 blue, and as I say we're going down to flight 140. I remember being, well, years ago when I was a kid, I was at Manchester Airport at the viewing gallery, the old one actually, not the one that's there now, for those of you that know it, and as an aircraft was taking off there was an almighty bang, a sound like I'd never heard before, and it was a bird strike. Who knew a bird could make that much noise? Ew, just a bit of juice. Lovely. Shamrock 1710, no, the fuel flow actually for descent is, that's pretty accurate. We're descending, so the engines are not really taking any fuel at all. They've always been good with regards to the cruise and the descent. The climb, not so much. So it's about to get dark in here as we come under these, go under the blanket of cloud in a moment. So passing flight level 210, we're about 40 miles from Brno. And we're going to get that APU on in a moment. JJ, are you referring to the one which was at the other side of the runway to what it is now? So let's get the APU running. Wait till that's alive and well. Yep, you had a bird strike once while glider flying. Wow, that does sound scary. That sounds very scary. So, as predicted, it's now nice and dark. Spleef trapping. So we're turning on the APU as we're going to use APU for bleed air, which means the engines don't have to power the packs. APU is going to do it. So the engines have got all the power and extra thrust they will need if we need it. And so APU is now available. So let's turn pack 1 off. APU bleed can now come on. And then we can put pack 1 back on again. Would the APU normally remain on the lower E cam at this point? $20 miles away from Brno. That descent profile looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. Just to show you once again what we're expecting. So from Brno, as long as we're above 14,000 feet, it is actually an altitude here, HD. Don't know if that makes much difference to us anyway. So Brno still remaining at 14,000 at Innsbruck. Not until after we've passed Innsbruck do we head down to 12,000. So there's the bleed air page telling us the APU is now supplying bleed air. Transport Gamer, yep, this is Fly Live Studio. So guys, if you could do me a favour, I would really appreciate it if you could hit the like button on the stream. It's great for our YouTube rankings. Obviously I've been away at this time, not been able to stream at this time for a couple of weeks now, but I'm back, which is lovely, until my wife finds me another room to decorate. So if you can just help hit that like button, that would be most appreciative. Doesn't look like I can actually get rid of the APU button either, HD. It's because the APU is now on, it's stuck. I can put the engine page on. Dan Powell. So the idea behind this is basically just checking that. Sorry, speed and alt is fine. Basically, the idea behind this is you just you fly alongside. Have us on an iPad. Have us on your tablet or a second monitor on your PC or your TV, of course, and you just fly along with us. Right at the start of the stream, I showed you how to use my flight plan for this flight, so you can fly the exact same routing and do everything at the exact same time, sort of like in real time, in the comfort of obviously your own comfort of your own home in your own time. Okay, so the wending and landing information has been obtained. Our flight management guidance computer. Let's check that RadNav page, shall we? See if that's populated, which it hasn't. So let's update that. The frequency you must have in there is 111.1. Very, very important that we get that. So there it is. Landing elevation is 1,894, and we're going to put landing brake to medium. Lots of snow, apparently. JJ, that's fine. I'll tell my wife to do the DIY around the house, but then that means I've got to look after the children. Okay, so we put the seatbelt signs on nice and early. We'll run our approach checklist now. So we've got the terrain radar on as well. The approach checklist, our minimums are set, both sides, 2,250 blue. Well, I presume both sides. I've turned that screen off, but that's fine. And engine mode select norm. We could probably put engine mode select in ignition, couldn't we, for this HT? Mind you, I don't know. It's not meant to be heavy precipitation. It's just a bit of light snow. What do you think? Electronic flight bag is stowed, and we've done our arrival briefing. So once again, once we get to the Rattenberg VOR, we're going to fly over the Rattenberg VOR at a track of 046. We're then going to come about. It's like I'm flying a boat. I'm going to make a turn to a heading of 26 degrees to intercept, re-intercept the Rattenberg VOR, and then fly a heading of 210 degrees to Adwig. And then we start praying we see some ground. HD, I didn't clear the RavNav page at 10,000 feet. No, you're right, I didn't. So the terrain radar is on, and we're not showing anything. That makes me happy. That makes me very happy. It'll start to show bits of green and maybe yellow on the way down. It's a little bumpy, isn't it? Don't know if you can see that in the sim.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck, you may have noticed that we've just begun our final descent into our destination. If you could now assist the cabin crew by tidying up your tray table and handing them any litter as they come around, that would be most appreciated. For safety reasons, we ask now that you please turn off all electronic devices or switch them to airplane mode until after we have landed. Please note that the aircraft toilets are now out of use. If you wish to become a Easyjetsimpilot channel member, please contact a member of your cabin crew who will be happy to assist you. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed your flight.
Okay, so we've just flown over the Innsbruck NDB, and we're now direct the Rattenberg NDB, as you can see. At least I hope we are. There seems to be an absence of a green line confirming that. This is interesting. That's very interesting. Where's that green line come from? It does seem to be steering us direct to the Rattenberg NDB, which is fine. So let's get down to 12,000 feet and start slowing our aircraft down as well. So thrust idle, open descent. HD, you don't like clouds this colour, dear. That means they're usually full of snow, which I think is quite realistic at the minute. So that's just descending us a little bit too quickly. We can probably slow that rate of descent down. So speed and a VS of 1,000 feet per minute. Yeah, not the most common one is what's it doing now, isn't it? That's what we normally hear. So before the fun begins and we hit the Rattenberg NDB, who else is still flying? Hopefully all of you that started with me are still flying. We've had no crash to death stops, nothing's gone wrong. Although Nick was circling again from a certain point of view. Nick, have you checked your dead zone settings? Hey Christian, do you know if we made those with a picture of the A320 on it, just saying what's it doing now, we'd probably make a fortune selling them to pilots. Speed Alt Star. I'm going to start slowing this aircraft down as well in a moment. So let's go to performance, activate the approach phase, confirm the approach and select manage mode. For the speed, engine spooling back. And we're going to get those landing lights on now as well, because we're about 10,000 feet. The elevation of the airport is about 1,900 feet. ID Mans 2, what altitude should you be at Rattenberg? 12,000. 12,000. Greedy Man, good evening. Oh no, you're just in time. You've just come for the best bit. We're going to attempt to land at Innsbruck. The weather is snowing. Visibility is about 3,000 meters. And there's also clouds to contend with as well. So nice and interesting. Flying blind in clouds, knowing the terrain that's surrounding me, does make me slightly nervous. Harley Trader, you hit the approach phase button and everything went wrong. Approach phase? Oh, nothing should have gone wrong at that point, I don't think. Wow. That looks... well, that looks quite scary, actually. So, once we get to Rattenberg, hang on, aircraft's doing something I don't want it to. So we're now going to fly heading 046. And then we'll come about back to Rattenberg, and then we'll go and intercept. Minimum safe altitude at this point is 10,300 feet, so we're safely still above the terrain. So we've just passed Rattenberg, we're now on the right heading. We'll give that a minute and then we'll make that turn. I love seeing HD shouting chrono, chrono, chrono when my chrono's displaying 30 seconds. That's the wonderful delay on the screen. I know what you mean. I knew what you meant, HD. Chrono, crino, cringo. Okay, so I'm now going to go flaps 1 and start slowing us down. So we're now flaps 1, 1 minute in. Let's turn the aircraft around to a heading of 226. Yep, he may not have used them yet, but we're not on the ground, so there's a fair chance. Could we go back to direct Rattenberg? Will that allow us? Let's go. Direct. It's not going to let us. Or is it? Hang on. Go direct to Rattenberg, temporary direct, and heading. Oh, there we go. That worked. Yeah, HD. I wasn't going to mention that. I spun the heading bug the wrong way. I went right instead of left. Seriously, what clubs have you got? Okay, so as we get to Rattenberg, we then want to fly. Just quickly bring this in and show you this. We want to fly a heading of 210 degrees, which takes us to Adwig. Although I think that's now actually coded in. Oh yeah, it is. So we should be able to leave this. There's also a limit to the localizer beam here, so don't worry if that doesn't populate straight away. But let me just double check that RadNav page is correct. 110.1, which it is. And we want to pick it up at about 19 miles. Remember that glide path angle as well is 3.77 degrees. So now we're going direct to, well, it's actually saying direct another user point. That's slightly annoying, but let's just see. That user point looks pretty close to the waypoint that we need to be to intercept the localizer, so that's fine. So now we've started the approach, let's get down to 9,500 feet. Get some speed brakes out. Oh, HD, we've done it again. I like doing something then reading that you've just said the exact same thing. You may say it another 5 times though now because the stream's 30 seconds delayed. Eastbirds, good evening. And Alt Star. So, okay, let's pop the localizer on then, shall we? 22 miles away. It's about now we want to start praying that we actually see some ground. So, lock blue. And the aircraft now is targeting that waypoint DME 19, which is correct after Adwig, so that's fine. Happy with that. And there we go, lock start. So that's just starting to capture. And we need to put the glide slope on as well. Glide slope. And let's get flaps 2 out, shall we? Oh, we can't get flaps 2 out. Let's get the landing gear down. There we go. Landing gear slowing us down. Now we can go flaps 2 with that speed check. 200 knots. Flaps 2. And radio altimeter is alive.
2,500.
I've not seen outside yet. Okay, flaps 3, speed check, flaps 3. I will not go any further than that until we can see. I can see a little bit outside, can you? So really hoping, there's the river just coming into view now. So let's get configured. We want brakes, lights, camera, action. Ding that cabin crew as well. I think we may just be starting to come visual now. So 2,250 is our decision, but there's the runway in sight. And we'll have a very, very quick look outside. I'm so glad those clouds have cleared. There's the runway. Here we are in the valley. A couple of moments to get to this point, but all in all, we're there. So, we'll turn the glide slope off, or the glide slope aural warning sound off. And we're now coming in at that angle, of course. Remember, it is an offset localizer. Does the default scenery have the high intensity lights, the flashing lights? I've never done the approach here before, so I don't know. Q&H check, yeah, absolutely. So happy to hold us on the autopilot for just another couple of thousand feet. But the cabin is now secured for landing. Auto thrust. Speed. Missed approach altitude is 11,500 feet. Let's set that before we take the autopilot off. 11,500 feet. There we go. So missed approach altitude, go around altitude is set, ECAM memo hasn't actually shown landing yet, but now I can see the runway. We can deploy full flaps, so flaps full. And autopilot coming off, I have control. So slight wind from the right, not very much. And we shouldn't really need to do too much with regards to altering the pitch and angle of attack. Descent rate is looking fine. And there we go, landing no blue. So now we're going to track that centre line manually. I'll tell you what a beautiful approach this is. Everyone loves the Innsbruck approach, but when we were circling around above the airport with the knowing the terrain was not too far beneath us, then yeah, that was interesting. There's a row of flats as well, isn't there, in the real world? I don't know if they're shown here. I'm not really concentrating on the chat now, guys. I'm just concentrating on the landing. So 1,000 feet, using the PAPIs. Oh, frame rates don't fail me now. Thankfully, the winds are quite nice and light as well, which is good.
500.
500 feet, approach stable.
100 above. 400. Minimum
Continue.
300. 200. 100.
Snowy runway.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 5.
Lost a few frame rates on the touchdown, but that's okay. I think we were safely down. Reversers are on. Max auto brake. And reversers off, auto brake disconnect. And there we are. What a beautiful approach.
Will shortly be leaving their seats to perform safety-related duties. However, we ask that you remain seated until the fasten seatbelt sign has been switched off. Portable electronic devices for messaging, calls, or internet access may now be used. Please make sure that you take all your personal belongings with you, checking in the seat pocket, underneath the seat, and in the overhead lockers. Do take care when opening the lockers in case anything falls out.
So we can, the APU's already running, let's get the lights off.
Designated smoking area. On behalf of the captain and the crew, it has been our pleasure looking after you today. Our ground crew will help you complete your EasyJet journey. For the latest news, promotions, flight and destination information, check out our official Facebook page, Twitter, or EasyJet app.
And I think that's another one of those occasions where you concentrate on approaches like that probably far harder than you do any of the easy ones, and they're always a little bit better, aren't they? So thank you to everyone that's been in with the flight. Just before you leave, if you could hit that like button for me, I'd really appreciate that. That would be great. APU's running, and we just need to find somewhere to park. Yes, this is self-loading cargo. And I hope everyone that was flying with the fly-along tutorial flight has had a safe and successful landing as well. Please do let me know how you got on with that. And in case you couldn't tell, I wasn't really talking too much during the landing because there was quite a bit of concentration going on. And oh yeah, our brakes are hot. I'm not sure why that hasn't actually. Does that normally flash up on the eCam? Let's put that brake fans on. In fact, I've got the engine page showing. That might be why. Yeah, there we go. Because when we started the APU, it defaulted to the APU page. Right, in terms of where we're actually going to park, I'm just plonking it in front of the control tower. I don't even know if they have specific parking stands here, do they? You just get marshalled in, I think. No marshallers to meet us tonight, sadly. But we're all down, we're all safe, we're all sound. And we're done. APU is already running. Let's turn off the de-ice. I can also turn off that as well. APU bleed is on. And let's turn off engine 1. We can turn off engine 2. We can turn off the seatbelt signs as well. Here comes the logbook. It'd be nice if they got rid of this, wouldn't it, for in the next update. With that, seatbelt signs are off, beacon lights are off. We're ready to open the doors. Charlie, you swear HD Dude knows his stuff? I swear it as well. Particularly as he's a real world pilot. Okay, thank you very much, guys. I hope you've enjoyed that stream tonight. Big thank you to all the subscribers on Facebook, Twitch, and of course here on YouTube. And a massive thank you to those of you who have donated and contributed to the channel this evening as well. Always a big thanks to our Easyjetsimpilot members here on YouTube. I will be back tomorrow for another flight in Easyjet colours, of course, for a nice daytime stream. Look forward to that. Apple strudel time. I will be looking forward to seeing you all again very, very soon. Hope you've had a great night, everyone. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you for the next flight. Bye bye for now.
Cabin crew, you can now disarm the doors, thank you. Cabin crew, aircraft is secured, you can open the doors. Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck once again, I hope you have enjoyed your flight with us today here on Easyjet. On behalf of myself, the first officer, and the cabin crew, may we wish you a safe and pleasant journey from the airport, and we hope to see you again very soon. In order to increase the comfort of your next flight, please take a look at joining the Easyjetsimpilot channel, and we offer extra perks for those frequent flyers. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you once again.